Welcome to the May edition of the Ward 2 NPA meeting. I believe you all were here for Lauren's rundown of the agenda. So what I will do is introduce myself, Mark Sanders. I use he, him pronouns. I live on the corner of North Winooski and Decatur. On behalf of the steering committee members in attendance tonight, Lauren, Grace, and Charlie, we welcome you. And first order of business is to get a motion for the minutes from April's meeting. Could I have a motion? Nice. Could I have a second motion? Thank you, Miles. So with that complete, we are going to open up the floor for a public forum for the next 10 minutes. So we ask 2 minutes max if you have anything you'd like to share. We have one dedicated announcement first.
You're on. You're live.
I'm just looking for Jess. Where's Jess? Where is Jess? So I'll do a couple of quick reminders, and then we're going to get Jess out here, and she doesn't know about it. And she'll be really upset, but she'll get over it, whatever. So I just wanted to remind folks, please, if you have a couple extra dollars, to throw them into the donations box, because that's how we can keep doing these great meals. And on the back table are some copies of old maps of Burlington. Charlie's pointing to them. If you want to look at where your house is now, or in the example of St. Louis Street, it didn't exist yet. But anyhow, and now I guess we're waiting for Jess.
She's coming.
Okay. So I want everyone, like, just on your feet, screaming and yelling. Jess. We just want you to know, and start crying. We just want you to know how much we appreciate what you do. And it's not just here in the kitchen, it's trying to find housing for people and gardening for people and taking care of everybody. And we love you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So, so thank you.
I hate surprises, and this is really sweet. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to do all these fun things in community with all these wonderful people, because I'm just the one who bosses people around. Here's the people who do the work.
Thank you.
All right, now back to our regular scheduled programming. Did you have one?
Yes.
Is that working? Yeah, thank you. I'm a little verklempt, even though it's like so moving. I am here again to tell people to please come to the City Market member meeting on Monday. Thank you to people who have been coming to the meetings or to the community events that are happening. I think that there's more people, as more people come, more people are going to the meetings. And so it's become really clear to me that we, the members, own the co-op, and we, the members, need to be participating and pushing for more transparency and better understanding of where the co-op is going. So There's a meeting at 6 p.m. on Monday for the board members and for the board meeting for any member to go. You have to get a Zoom link, but I shared it on the Front Porch Forum, so I hope people show up. So please stay engaged because they're using words like the situation is dire for City Market. So please, 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 please get engaged. Oh, Andrea Todd. Yes. Actually, it's a Zoom. There's like, it'll say on the website, mostly Zoom, but then some in person. And when it's in person, there's no Zoom option.
Where's the meeting?
It's 6 p.m. online Monday. And when it's in person, it's 6 p.m. in the community room in the South End store.
Hello, neighbors. Sorry to startle you. My name is Kevin Bloom. I use they, them pronouns, Ward 1. I am running for the office of Sheriff of Chittenden County. I'm running on a platform of eviction reform through eviction prevention to keep children and families housed and get landlords paid to create a safer community for all of us. Thank you so much. I am the only person in Vermont running for sheriff who advocates to abolish ICE. And if elected, I will be the first transgender person in the history of America to be an elected sheriff. Thank you. My name is Kevin Bloom, like a flower, and I'm running in a contested Democratic primary on August 11th. So please vote, and you can remember my name, Bloom like a flower. So good to share a meal with all of you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mila Grant. I'm a city councilor for Central District, Wards 2 and 3, and I live in Ward 2. I wanted to let you know that similar to something that we used to do on a regular basis, yearly, stopped for a long time, then brought back in 2024, was the Old North End Clean Up, Clean Out. So we had done it in 2024. We are doing it again at the end of this month, which will be Saturday, May 30th from 10 to 2:30. So at both the Sustainability Academy and at IAA, Integrated Arts Academy, we will have 2 large dumpsters. We will also have trucks available for scrap metal, and people can also get rid of tires. I will be posting on Front Porch Forum. We will be doing social media. We'll be looking for some volunteers. People who also might want to help pick up sharps, pick up garbage. We'll have bags, we'll have gloves, we'll have sharps containers. So it'll be May 30th, the Old North End Clean Up, Clean Out. When we did in 24, we collected just under 2 tons of garbage. So when we think about things that people in our area who might not have cars or might not have the money to dispose of certain things, if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me. Information for a city councilor contact will be in the Front Porch Forum post, social media post, and is available on the city's website. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Peterson. I use he, him pronouns. I am running for state representative in the Chittenden 16 district, which is much of downtown Burlington and the Old North End. I grew up in Burlington. I went through our public schools, and I'm running on a platform of universal health care, fully funded public transit, and permanently affordable housing. Growing up in Burlington, I was actually on the steering committee of my local NPA at the age of 14, so I'm really happy to be here with you all. Unfortunately, the incumbent, Kate Logan, is not running for re-election, but she has endorsed my candidacy, has been a great mentor and ally to our campaign. We're expected to get the Progressive Party endorsement later this week, and we are also endorsed by Green Mountain Democratic Socialists of America. So I'm so happy to be here with you all. I'm getting ballot petition signatures. We need 50, so please let me know if you're open to getting us on the ballot. Thanks.
Want to say hello?
Hi, my name is Johannes, and I run for Inspector for Elections on Ward 4, which Simon and Mom and I actually live in Ward 3, but Ward 3 is not until of Sept, and it's very cool if I run on Ward 3, if the sustainability dumpster of clean out and clean in is done. We're trying to move houses, and Bobby and Tata just moved, and our house is on North Champlain Street.
Thank you much. Yeah, Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Lauren again. So in case you don't know, the City of Burlington has many boards that citizens can serve on. The applications are still open. I believe they're open until May 20th, and there are many openings across the different boards and commissions in the city. So if you're interested, the vacancies are listed, or the openings are listed on the city website. So be sure to check that out, and the applications are due May 20th.
Does anyone else have an item?
Well, it's a favorite Ward 2. The Trout Parade is coming. If you remember this is the second annual Trout Parade. Sustainability Academy celebrates all things trout and the ecosystem, and it's going to march through town on May 29th around 1 o'clock. Kids are kind of slow, so maybe it'll be after that. And just celebrate the kids doing this and something joyful in our community. Trout Parade.
Anyone else? All right. Oh, yeah.
So we had a lot of candidates, and we have candidates for the August primaries here today. Thank you all for coming. I just wanted to call out that the NPAs across the city are talking about how we host candidate forums and kind of coming together to make it not such a crazy schedule, because there are 7 NPAs, so I can imagine that is a lot. So we don't have anything concrete right now, but I do know that Wards 1 and 3 will each be hosting forums for state's attorney in June, right, Barbara? Ward 1 is doing state senate in June. Okay, Ward 1 is state senate in June, and Ward 3 is state's attorney. Next week, sorry. Okay, so to recap, Ward 3 will be doing a state's attorney forum next week at their meeting on Wednesday. And then in June, Ward 1 will be doing a state senate forum at their meeting. And we will be talking as a steering committee about how we will ask the candidates to come. So more to come on that, but I wanted to shout out some of the other NPAs in the city. And you are always welcome, whether you are a resident of that ward or not.
All right, thanks. Okay, so for the top 5 things going on in Burlington, we were racking our heads up here. We were a little late to the game this month. So one thing we mentioned, there's an article in 7 Days that the mayor's office was able to align the budget. So we have a balanced budget moving forward. The next was, we only have 3, I'm not gonna. The next was that Front Porch Forum achieved their goal, their fundraising goal. And the third was that the temps are getting into the 70s, so we're making progress. Okay, so we have one item to vote on for the NPA budget. We were looking to request $100 to be allocated toward this magazine, is it comic? That's been in the archives, and we've asked a local artist to kind of revive it with a QR code and bring that back to get into. Oh, and we have them back there.
Yeah, so these were done by Christine Tyler Hill a few years ago. We have them back here in a few different languages. We also have poster versions of them. They are beautiful, but they are unfortunately outdated in terms of what meetings are posted on them. So we are asking for funds to provide to Christine to help update the posters and the comics that we can put around town for folks to learn about the NPA.
And I believe we'll also have a QR code too.
Yes, so it would be updated with a QR code, so that way it is more evergreen as the
Paperless.
NPA's meeting times change or locations change or things like that.
So we would like, do we need a motion, a vote?
So you,
Okay, so it would be for Ward 2 members only, so if you live in Ward 2. If I could get a show of hands in support. Keep them up. And the noes? And no one online. I didn't see anyone raise a hand online. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So now the first presenter, we have a candidate for the August primary, Elaine Haney, coming to introduce. Oh, hello. Do you want to come up here?
Just slide it up.
yeah, just like that.
Thank you. I will stand now. Hi, everyone. My name is Elaine Haney. My pronouns are she, her, and I am from Essex Junction, and I'm a mom of 3 adult kids, and I just want to say thank you for having me here this evening, and thank you so much for an incredibly delicious meal. It was really spectacular, so I would love another round of applause for those folks. So I am here tonight to talk about my candidacy for the Chittenden County Central District Senate seat. And I am somebody who believes in the long game. I believe in working for good over time. And so I have had many years of experience leading my community. I just finished up my 12th year as an elected official in Essex Junction. And I am the former chair of Town Meeting TV and a former commissioner on the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission. I'm also part of the team that helped create the new city of Essex Junction a few years ago and helped end a decades-long conflict there. And I have spent years assisting and training women candidates in my work as the director of Emerge Vermont. And I also represent Vermont nationally at the Democratic National Committee. And I am ready to put that experience to work for all of you. And the reason I am doing this is because, I learned a lesson through another experience I had when I was a couple years ago. So I'm also a retired roller derby skater. And I know it's hard to tell just looking at me, but yeah. And, I learned an important lesson there, which is when you get hit, you have 2 choices. You can either go down and stay down, or you can stay upright and keep moving. And right now, our country is taking hits, and our state is taking hits. And our federal government has been overtaken by the most corrupt and incompetent administration in our country's history, and we must do everything we can to protect Vermonters from federal overreach. That's why I support some actions by the legislature that were taken recently, like the creation of legislation that protects Vermonters from civil arrest in sensitive places like hospitals and doctors' offices and churches. Also, I support legislation that was recently passed that enables law enforcement officers to be sued if they violate the Constitution. But I'm disappointed that some legislation that was being discussed that would require law enforcement to not wear masks and to wear ID has been diluted. So we really need to keep working hard and do more to protect Vermonters from overreach of the federal government. But I also have been going door to door talking to Vermonters throughout this big district, and I'm hearing literally the same thing from every person. I love Vermont, but I don't really think I can afford to live here. And so I see this affordability crisis as a three-pronged problem, and Vermont has to walk and chew gum at the same time and try to solve these problems together, because they're completely interrelated. First of all, we have to get education reform right. I do not believe that consolidation is the right solution, particularly for Chittenden County. And I think we need to explore many other alternatives to reducing costs besides consolidation. And I think also we need to take a regional approach to education reform that respects the wishes of communities. Second of all, Vermonters need to be able to afford the health care they need to take care of themselves. So I support exploring universal primary care, particularly including vision, hearing, and dental, because we all need to be able to afford to take care of our basic health needs. I also think we should be having more healthcare providers offering more healthcare services to help reduce wait times and travel and cost. And finally, our housing situation, which I'm starting to feel the littlest bit optimistic about, because we have new programs in place like CHIP that are going to allow towns to build infrastructure at a lower cost, which will in turn make developing housing less expensive. And we also need to eliminate duplicative and expensive permitting processes. So those are three big things that we need to accomplish together. And I am here stepping up to lead to do this because I believe strongly in all of us, and I know what it's like to work really hard for something you truly believe in. So I'm hoping that you will vote for me as one of your 3 Senate votes for the Chittenden Central District. The primary election is August 11th, and absentee ballots will be mailed out around June 27th, but you have to request them. They're not going to be mailed automatically. So I just want to thank you for your time and for allowing me to come to your wonderful, joyous dinner and to come to your meeting. And I'd be happy to talk with folks later. You can also learn more about me at my website, which is ElaineHaneyVT.com. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next we have Pike Porter and Nick Persampieri from Chittenden Node of 350vermont.org and Stop Vermont Biomass here to talk about the McNeil power plant.
Hello? Okay. I'm Mary Andrews. I live on the far eastern end of Ward 2 on South Willard Street, and I'm here with Kim Horning-Marcy. We're both volunteers with 350 Vermont, and we're going to talk to you here today about the importance of phasing out Burlington's use of the McNeil power plant. Okay.
So, burning wood for electricity is a bad idea. The science has changed a lot since Burlington put in, decades ago, the McNeil plant, and it makes sense to phase it out. And how many of you have heard of Bill McKibben? Yeah. Well, Bill sent Nick, who's in the yellow shirt, this email. Please vote no on the question. The city draws a false contrast between fossil fuels and renewables. Some renewables, such as solar and wind, are important, but wood is not renewable.
Next. So as Ward 2 residents, you know we walk and drive and garden by the McNeil plant, and it's huge smokestacks that are found on the south end of our Intervale. McNeil, as you probably also know, burns wood to generate electricity. And our public utility, Burlington Electric Department, owns 50% of the McNeil plant. And McNeil currently provides between 32% and 45% of our electricity in Burlington. Next.
So, McNeil. Thank you. So McNeil is the largest stationary source of greenhouse gases in Vermont. As you probably know, transportation and housing are also a big part of our greenhouse gases, but that's very difficult to solve. Here we have just one thing that if we could phase it out, we would eliminate the very harmful to health particulate matter and other pollutants that exacerbate a lot of health problems. We would end the negative impacts on forest ecosystems. It costs a lot, and it's old and inefficient. Most states got rid of their biomass plants at 30 years. McNeil is at 42.
That's why I came over. So this is not on. Oh, it is on. Okay, good. So burning wood to generate electricity emits closer to there. Speak on there. Okay.
And please mute your mic if you're not speaking into it.
Oh, okay. Burning wood to generate electricity emits more carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour generated than fossil fuels, even coal, the most carbon-intensive fuel. So this is the result of a scientific study that was published in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. The McNeil plant also emits other greenhouse gases and other toxins, and it requires the transport of large amounts of wood products into Burlington.
So BED claims that McNeil is carbon neutral because they engage in sustainable forestry, and that the carbon dioxide emissions from its stack are resequestered by trees as they regrow. This is a myth that has been disproven by all IPCC scientists. When trees are burned, the carbon dioxide is released immediately, creating immediate problems for climate and human health, and it takes decades to centuries to regrow the tree that was sequestering that carbon. Regrowth is also, in our current situation, very uncertain. Next slide.
So this is the BED theory, the closed loop carbon cycle. On the left-hand side, you see, according to BED, burned trees emit CO2, which goes into the atmosphere, and then is reabsorbed by trees. On the other side is the BED explanation of fossil fuel burning, where the fossil fuels emit CO2 that goes up into the atmosphere.
So this is a total myth. CO2 is CO2. And trees are trees. They sequester the CO2 that they have access to. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So the reality is depicted in these graphics. First, wood-burning power plants emit more CO2 per kilowatt of energy than any other fuel. So you have to burn more wood to get 1 kilowatt of energy. And that also degrades the forest, which is sequestering carbon. The result is higher atmospheric CO2. So our top image is wind and solar. There's no emissions, and the forest just keeps growing. The middle image is a fossil fuel plant, which you see has a smaller smoky cloud to demonstrate emissions. It doesn't directly reduce the size of forests, but of course climate change is causing drought and fire, which are reducing forests. And then the final is the bioenergy, which produces the most emissions, both of very negative to human health, critical air pollutants, and CO2. And you're also reducing the size of the forest. So the forest is getting smaller. Next slide.
So BED claims that McNeil burns mostly waste wood, but they actually also burn chips that are from the grinding of whole trees.
So next slide. McNeil is actually clear cutting up to 25 acres. We have PUC permission slips where they've talked about that. So they are burning a lot of, we'll answer questions at the end. They are burning a lot of whole trees, and they claim to be burning waste wood, you know, tops and limbs, but that should be left in the forest to enhance the soil. So not all logging is bad. I have a wooden house, I have wooden floors, I have wooden kitchen utensils. When you make something that you're not burning, you're still sequestering the carbon. So it's just the burning that is the issue. And this impairs forest ecosystems and erodes important benefits forests provide, like flood protection, which is a huge issue in Vermont, and has a destructive impact on forest ecology when you're clear cutting 25 acres at a pop.
So this is actually one of my favorite pictures here. As you can see, it's the large old trees and the forests that contain those large old trees that really sequester the most carbon. So here on the left, we have one mature canopy tree, a 100-foot tall oak tree, sequesters the same amount of carbon as 35 50-foot tall oak trees. And needless to say, when you go down to the 25-foot tall landscape trees, it takes 465 of those to sequester the amount of carbon in just that one mature oak tree. Next slide.
And now we get to human health. McNeil emits particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds, including benzene and formaldehyde and other pollutants which are known to be harmful to human health. McNeil releases these pollutants in proximity to racially diverse low and middle income neighborhoods of Burlington's Old North End and Winooski, whose residents face greater environmental risks than residents of other areas. Vermont ranks number 5 for the nation in asthma. And if you are within 2 kilometers of this plant, scientists would say you're at highest risk, but basically because of wind, anyone in Chittenden County is at risk from this plant and its emissions.
So operating the McNeil plant is expensive for Burlington Electric customers. McNeil has lost $35 million over the last 10 years, and so BED's share of that, since they're a 50% owner of the plant, is a 50% of that $34 million. In 2024, the average price of power in New England was $39.50 for each megawatt hour. The net cost for McNeil power over the same year was over $98 per megawatt hour. So it's costing us money to operate this plant.
All right, so we've already said that wood is very inefficient, and the plant is 26% efficient. It runs about 50 to 60% of the time because there are times when it's too expensive to run it, and there are times when it just has to have maintenance, repairs, or problems have to be fixed. BED BED has invested in capital improvements to extend operation of a 42-year-old plant beyond its anticipated useful life. In 2023, BED obtained City Council approval to move forward with the district energy project, which would depend on McNeil. Additional capital expenditures are planned or are under consideration. BED has planned all of these major expenditures without evaluating whether the plant should continue to operate or whether alternate sources of power would be more effective. Certainly wind, solar, and hydro would be much healthier for humans and the planet. Next slide, please.
So Burlington Electric Department has been actually driving Burlington climate policy. Specifically have been focusing on reducing fossil fuel use rather than reducing greenhouse gases. They have also been seeking to extend the life of the McNeil plant, as Kim suggested, by building a steam pipe from the plant to the UVM Medical Center. Next slide.
All right. So this undercuts the potential benefits of electrification of buildings and vehicles. To meaningfully reduce greenhouse gases, we all want to electrify and obtain that power from low carbon sources, such as hydro, solar, and wind. Next slide.
So this is our vision. I don't know how many of these things stand out to you in this picture, but solar, wind, and geothermal powered future, maximized efficiency. You definitely can't see that in this picture. Including support for insulation of our buildings, and safe walking, biking, transit, and driving. There's definitely some transit and driving in there. And a future that's locally oriented and power sources that are equity focused. We can have a little bit of time for questions, I think. And we also have a handout, and we have some additional materials. If you're interested, you can look at them and take them home.
Can I just ask the question about when you said 25 acres of clear cutting, over what time period? Is that per day? Is that per year?
It's just one of their sources of wood. I can't tell you the time frame, but they say they're just using waste wood, and they are clear cutting.
Okay, I just was wondering because that's a big
Yeah.
difference if it's.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. You do highlight the fact that it is wood burning, and it's 50% of Burlington electricity, 35 to 50% is produced.
It's about 30%.
30%. So what percent of that, if you solarize all the municipal buildings, landfills, and all, as many solar as individual homes and stuff, can we offset that?
That's not a question I can answer. I'd have to research that and get back to you.
Okay. The one I'm talking about is the landfill that was capped. I think they were looking at solarizing. If I remember correctly, it was about 5 to 10 megawatt of solar array that could hold just right next to wherever the McNeil is. So that's only 1/5 of what the McNeil does. So if you can find locations like that.
Currently, you're at 1.5% of the electricity Burlington uses is solar.
So if we can jack that up, that would be a good option to show that you can offset. And of course, wind is another big thing with the lake effect wind. That would be a great source.
These are great things to talk to your elected officials about, your city council, your mayor, and those who are running for state level
We just moved
offices.
here 2 weeks ago, so.
Well, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have two questions. One is, you mentioned the pipe going to UVM. Could you just explain that a little bit? I've seen some signs on it, but I don't understand what that means exactly.
Well, it's one of your funky Burlington issues. You passed an ordinance, which most people voted for in very good faith, that said, if you are going to build a new building, or if a building is over 50,000 square feet and it's using fossil fuel, we're going to tax it. Not realizing that wood is considered renewable, so you're pushing your medical center to use the extremely inefficient wood of McNeil for their heat source. It would bring steam from McNeil to the medical center. It's not currently, we're not quite sure where it is, but it's a really bad idea. You would then be burning even more wood, and you would, if you liked the disruption to your main street, this is a mile of disruption. So it's a boondoggle. It would make BED, McNeil, go from 26% efficient to 29%. When, again, wind, solar, hydro, these options, you're not paying for the fuel and you're not polluting.
All right. So then the second question is, so I am actually quite pleased at how low my electric bill is. Now, if this, so it sounds like the McNeil is inefficient, so if it went away, would my electric bill go down even further?
Well, our concern with McNeil is that it's losing lots of money, so we're not clear how it's keeping your electric bill low.
Well, I lived in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and I've got friends that are still there, and yeah, and I mean, the bills were always at least twice or more than what they are.
Can you give your mic to Nick? He's part of us and has a lot of insight.
Yeah, Burlington Electric's rates have been relatively low historically, and the rates of other utilities in Vermont have been low historically also, and we believe that's due in Burlington Electric. For Burlington Electric, we think their rates are low because they have a lot of low-cost hydropower that's in their portfolio. They're a publicly owned utility, so they don't have to build a return to shareholders into their rates. And also they benefit from something called REC arbitrage, which is a little hard to explain. They sell RECs from all the wind and solar and biopower that they buy out of state for a lot of money. They buy inexpensive hydropower RECs to replace them, and they make a lot of money by doing that. That's what keeps our rates low. It's not the McNeil plant, which is relatively expensive compared to other sources of their power.
And I want to add that McNeil is emitting, by their own reports to the state, over 5 tons of PM 2.5. How many people have heard of PM 2.5? Okay, it's so teeny, it's teeny, teeny, tiny soot. You can't see it, you can't smell it. But it is, how many people know someone with asthma? How many people know keep your hands up. How many people know someone with COPD? How many people know someone with heart or lung issues beyond those? How many people know someone with Parkinson's disease? How many people know someone with a mood disorder? How many people know someone with dementia? PM 2.5 by medical science is exacerbating or causing all of these medical issues. No amount of it is considered healthy. That's just one of the many critical air pollutants that McNeil is putting out into your air. Again, if you live within 2 kilometers, which I think most of you do, you are at risk. And anyone in Chittenden County, due to the wind, is at risk. And that costs money too, and life, and health.
Hi, good evening. It's an excellent presentation, and you've highlighted your problem, framed it really well, made us aware of all these things that you're talking about in terms of the effects and things like that. And you had a last slide that showed your vision. And I think perhaps, if you will, develop that into an ask. It may be another ask, because you've presented the problem and you've presented your vision, but you're not asking for anything so specifically. So I believe that you asked for something, at least a feasibility study to be funded for an alternative. That will give us the numbers and the framework for driving something to take it forward, whether that comes from the government or because these people are business and are losing whatever that is, $8 million or what have you, or 8 years of losses. It is in their own interest for their survival to come up with a feasibility study. So maybe perhaps pushing them in that direction and letting them know that this is for their own survival would make something like that a bit more headway in us understanding what we are supporting. I can say yes and walk out of here, but what am I going to get out of this? Yeah?
So we would love for you to sign up for more information. We would love for you to join us in contacting your city councilors, your mayor, your elected officials. We would also recommend that any kind of feasibility study be independent of BED. They are totally locked into wood being renewable. We've shown you clearly. There's a huge university and medical center up on the hill, and none of those scientists agree that wood is renewable. I mean, it's so ironic that Burlington is pretending that wood is, it's like the emperor has no clothes.
Now, India in 1943. And they were very proud, and they stopped every industry and the thing, but it was surrounded with the industries all over. Today, like now, air is like that without smoking, that you smoke a pack of cigarette. So just taking care of Burlington or Vermont is very essential. But in the meantime, since we are living in a planet that pollution from my city, Lucknow, can come even here, or we can sit it there. It has to be a global approach, because we are not living in a different planet. We breathing the same air, sharing the same sunshine, water, and this little selfish company, whatever they wanted to do here, should be stopped. But in the meantime, probably we can make and put the effort to show this city or state as a role model where the pollution can be left. Because in 1943, I was born in occupied India, and I feel today we are occupied by this big corporation, including some foreign countries that are dictating us. And we should concentrate on that, because we are invaded by all these criminals. And if we don't stop, our children, they don't know even what is better.
Well, I would certainly agree that it's a global problem, and we want to take as much action as we can right here in our hometown, and build out to our country, which, as many of you probably believe, is not necessarily at the forefront of environmental protection right now, and then to the rest of the world. So I absolutely agree with you, sir.
We have one question here.
My question was, like, we can't turn off the power until we have a substitute. So I'm just unclear on how we can produce that power before turning off the McNeil factory.
Well, you'd have to find as a city, you would have to find some alternatives. And, the state passed res reform 2 years ago where we mandated that more of our Vermont energy come from green sources in Vermont, providing green jobs, green employment, and no emissions. So you have state support to move to the things that are already working that don't cause these health problems and don't cause the damage to the atmosphere. But you'd need a plan. Right now, there's no plan. You did get off of the Moran plant, and at the first presentation we did, there was a man who talked about, he was on the city council, and he said the Moran plant put out horrible emissions that ruined everybody. Like if their laundry was out, it would ruin the laundry, and their lawn chairs got disgusting, and large numbers of people came together and said, we can't stand this anymore, and they got off it. So you've done it before. McNeil is not producing that kind of visible destruction, but it's very, very, very damaging to health and to climate, and there's better solutions. So if we come together, you can do anything. Burlington led the way on getting rid of secondhand smoke in buildings. You can lead the way. Let's get back to that. And here's more literature, and sign up to get more information and help us if you would like. Or there's another question?
Well, I just wanted to say, I'm Kit Andrews here in Ward 2. The way Burlington got off the Moran plant was by building McNeil. That's what got us off of Moran. My family moved here in 1984. We had a beautiful maple tree in our backyard, and 1/3 of it on the side toward the waterfront toward Moran plant was all stunted. And people's cars were, anyway, I won't, yeah. So anyway, that's how we got out of the Moran plant, was by building the McNeil plant. And as you referenced, back then it was thought to be a very progressive step.
It was thought to be cutting edge. Renewable. I mean, we didn't even know about secondhand smoke till 2000.
Yeah.
So science has moved on, though, and you're stuck. You wouldn't go to a doctor who was stuck in 1980s medicine.
Yes, and that brings me to the second thing I wanted to say, which comes off of the question that this young woman asked. A plan is necessary. We can't, Burlington can't shut McNeil down next year. So I think what's necessary is that the city, in a fairly united way, with the city council, the mayor, and BED, the whole city needs to start to work on a plan, and I think that's the problem right now.
That's what we're hoping for, a better plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we should keep that in mind as we communicate with our elected officials, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you both.
Thanks for having us.
Now we have a fan favorite, the Department of Public Works. Robert Golding is here to learn about DPW's 2026 construction work plan, and he'll preview 2 key projects.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having Public Works here to present our 2026 construction work plan to you. I want to share some regrets from our director, who's been a little under the weather this week, Chapin Spencer. Normally, he'd like to be here. So just wanted to share that, but really appreciate you having us here. What I want to do is go through some of the big projects underway right now downtown and downtown adjacent that I'm sure you know about and or have run into. Share some quick updates about those, and then really launch into the bread and butter of the work we get to do, which is sidewalk, paving, and the water work that's going to take place across the city, and we can focus a little bit on what's happening here and nearby in Ward 2. So next slide, please. So we do have the two big projects going on downtown and in the south end right now, Main Street, Great Streets, and the Champlain Parkway. We are pleased to share that both projects are expected to wrap up on time and on budget as soon as late June, early July. We expect all of those roads to be open with maybe a couple touch-up items left to do throughout the summer, but pleased to share that news with you. Next slide. So the Champlain Parkway obviously has a pretty long history in Burlington. It's been under development in some fashion for decades. It's a much different project now than what it was originally envisioned to be. And now it's essentially going to be a 2-lane, 25-mile-per-hour road that eventually connects onto Lakeside and Pine Street. It has added multimodal connections over 2 miles of shared use path, in addition to stormwater enhancements. And overall, while no project is perfect, we think this is a net benefit to the city of Burlington and far different than what it was originally envisioned to be, which was going to cut us off from the waterfront. What's left on the Champlain Parkway? We have a couple items left to do both on the Pine Street side and the actual Champlain Parkway side. These are largely, we're kind of largely in the toward the finish line right now. You may see some sidewalk work happening on Pine Street. That's to redo a couple areas of sidewalk the contractor didn't build to spec. So that's why you might see some activity there right now. We have turned on the signals on Pine Street at Maple and King, which if you've experienced, they might be jarring at first. Obviously, we are used to 4-way stop signs there. We expect a little bit of time to get used to those. We are trying to monitor activity, backups, queuing, and driver behavior to see what kind of modifications may need to be altered before everything truly comes online. So this is all available online. We're happy to talk more at length, whether you have questions at the end or later, but I want to kind of breeze through these now since I want to leave as much time as possible for questions and the rest of your agenda. So next we have Main Street, built of course to be a more welcoming gateway into Burlington. Itself adds a wider tree canopy, better lighting, wider sidewalks, fresh pavement, stormwater gardens, stormwater infiltration under the ground, and maybe the marquee of the whole project is the replacement and the bypassing of the 150-year-old ravine sewer that runs through the downtown. We've bypassed most of that sewer, as I mentioned whenever I give this presentation, built before the Brooklyn Bridge. That sewer has prevented us from being able to more fully develop downtown with more housing, with more commerce, and it's really been a kind of stalled effort to do that, and with bypassing that, we've now unlocked the potential for more ability to build housing, commerce downtown. It's also obviously going to be a more resilient piece of infrastructure. When you're dealing with sewer pipes, you really don't want to deal with 150-year-old pipes to safely convey sewage across the downtown of any city. So next slide, what's left to do? Kind of the basics of the project. We are going to finish up the sidewalks, finish signals, tree plantings, paving, and what we're really excited to share is public art. We'll have a couple ceremonial opportunities for the public to see the art unveiling. We'll have a nice kickoff in July for when the street is fully open and generally done. Trying to work with the business community now to lock in some final details to make sure we can all celebrate as a community, but you'll hopefully be on the lookout for some of these final touch-up items that are really going to put a finish on the street. Next slide. Finally, we are also still working toward the final design of Cherry Street, and you may have heard about the Reconnecting Bank and Cherry project. Bank Street right now is at least on hold for a bit. We do think by 2027 or a little bit later, depending on community needs and what the funding requirements are eventually going to be for the federal funds we have for Cherry Street, we expect to be launching into construction on that road with a different kind of traffic control pattern to allow a little bit more alleviation of traffic through the downtown as we transition to that project. The benefit of this project, of course, underway partly right now with the reconnecting of St. Paul and Pine Street, but it's going to reconnect those city streets that a generation and a half ago were kind of closed off to the city. So we think this has a lot of benefit to reconnect our pedestrian walkways and our ability to just circulate around the downtown. Next slide, please. So just sharing a quick snapshot of Ward 2 work since 2017 to share a general decade of progress we've made across the city. We'll launch into a little bit more of the statistics about how we need to manage toward our sidewalk and road rebuilding. which we'll talk about on the next slide. So the sidewalk season has started. Pleased to say we did start in the Old North End on Manhattan Drive. We have a $1.6 million contract in addition to in-house work our maintenance crews will handle. They'll handle a lot of the shorter runs. We'll contract out a lot of the longer run sidewalk projects that we are going to manage across the city. Now, we have 130 miles of sidewalk in Burlington. Sidewalks can typically last about 40 years, which means to be on a sustainable cycle of sidewalk rebuilding, we need to hit at least about 3+ miles per year. Now, for the last decade or so, we have been on a more sustainable schedule of replacing sidewalks at an average of 3+ miles per year, but this is always dependent on funding availability, which of course is the momentum behind our work. Next slide. How do we build our sidewalk work plan? A really important question we get about sidewalks and paving. Generally, the big picture answer is the same for both, but we'll talk a little bit about the nuances very briefly before sharing with you more details on the sidewalk work plan. So what we try to do roughly every 5 to 7 years is to mechanically assess the entire 130-mile network of sidewalk. We use a contractor with a specialized machine that will traverse the entire city, kind of measuring every dip, divot, and crack in the sidewalk, taking pictures, and our field observations, along with your See-Click-Fix reports, to help us really put a number and a score on how healthy every segment of sidewalk is. We prioritize the sidewalk work plan based on location, utilization, and sidewalk condition overall. So if sidewalks are in a more pedestrian-rich area or near schools or senior centers, they will tend to lift up in the score system that we have, assuming funding and sidewalk condition merits the need for replacement. We also consider the location of sidewalks. Well, I mentioned that, but in addition to their proximity to other projects to help capture economies of scale. If we're building something nearby and a sidewalk is potentially needed for replacement, that could help push it up in the system as well. So we'll go to the next slide and share with you the specific work plan that we have underway right now. The streets at the top are generally part of our long run list being done by our contractor. You might see some sidewalks nearby. Of course, Manhattan and Intervale Ave, which is wrapping up this week, or actually wrapped up, both being done by our in-house crews. A little bit shorter segments, we can pivot much more quickly on those. This isn't necessarily the final list, but it is the list in queue right now. And what I mean by that is if weather cooperates, if the sidewalk contract has reserve funds at the end, if our in-house team has the ability at the end of a season and it's still dry, we can usually do more. I also want to caution that this isn't the only thing we can do. If there are urgent safety requests, we do ask you to call us. Use See-Click-Fix if it's maybe not that urgent. We always have the ability to potentially fit safety repairs in as well. Obviously, always constrained by overall funding and person power to do it, but we do need to hear from you if you're noticing something not on this list that you think merits a call. Next slide, please. So similar to sidewalks, paving is now well underway. Asphalt plants have been open for a few weeks. We have a $1.7 million contract and have about 3.5 miles planned for the year. One thing I glossed over and forgot to mention on the sidewalks slide is most of our sidewalk and paving work this year is funded by the resident paving work plan. Very similar to our sidewalk work plan, we are looking at street condition, street activity, street type. Are they major arteries? Are they collector streets? Are they neighborhood streets? What condition are they in? We are evaluating the entire network generally every year through our team, field reports, See-Click-Fix reports, and a partnership we have with the CCRPC, the Regional Planning Commission, to take a look at our entire network. We do have a prioritization framework that we look at, much like we do with sidewalks, which is always dependent on funding, but does look at that overall kind of network condition, road use, and nearby projects to try to capture those economies of scale. We are pleased to say we had our best paving bid season this year for the first time in multiple years, where we had more than one contractor bidding on our work, which we think helped us get a better bid this year, with the caveat that in construction, you always have to be on the lookout for headwinds, and so inflation has been a challenge. I'm sure it's been a challenge for everybody. over the last few years, and fuel prices we are noticing are starting to climb. So there are geopolitical things that obviously at the city level we can't manage and we need to work in response toward. But pleased to share that we are in a good bid season. So next slide, you can see our paving work plan, which includes a couple carryover streets from last year that got held up due to weather and other logistical problems. We also have some patching going on. You may be aware that at least according to WCAX, we have emerged from maybe the coldest winter in 19 years. That wreaks havoc on the roads, wreaks havoc on the pipes underneath the roads. Definitely had a very fruitful water main break season, as you may or may not be aware. But that also, if you've been driving around, you'll notice more potholes, more developed potholes. So we have a paving list that gets developed in response to that, again, with the major caveat that we must rely on available funding. But we will still carry forward. Are there reserve funds? Is there time left in the season? Are we getting reports from you that perhaps we're not aware of and we need to pivot the work plan a bit or add to the work plan a bit to add, say, another paving street or patching street? The caveat there is patching won't be full curb to curb, typically not the length of a street, but it will be a more significant upgrade than, say, a simple pothole repair. So keep us in your thoughts as you drive around the street. If you see something that you think we need to know about, please let us know. Next slide, please. Very brief update. I'm sure you're going to hear more from DPW in the coming months if you'll have us back on our water projects, but we are pleased to say, much like the capital bond approvals on town meeting day, the residents of Burlington also approved a significant wastewater bond that's going to allow us to meaningfully upgrade a major generational improvement project for our wastewater treatment plants. We are underway with stage 0 right now, which is kind of the initial screening and grit equipment that's getting replaced, and that's at the forefront of the wastewater treatment process. That's allowing us right now in the background to get ready to put out for bid stage 1, which will be the initial robust upgrades like tertiary treatment, which allows us to more meaningfully treat the phosphorus that comes into our plants, helps limit the cyanobacteria, the blue-green algae that's been affecting the lake in more dramatic fashion over the last decade. We can't do it all in Burlington, but we are doing our part. It is a watershed-wide problem, but this work is going to help us really upgrade what we're able to do. We have water main work underway, a couple projects, not directly in Ward 2, but if you happen to drive to the south end or the new north end, or on Summit Street, you might notice those. Those can be invasive at times, but they're ultra-critical. Water mains are an important part, of course, of city life. We also have a significant stormwater outfall project, not necessarily the thing everybody thinks about when they think infrastructure, but it does help us convey water safely out of the city, help get it where it needs to go without damaging property or putting anybody at risk. Next slide, just glossing over this. This is available online and on our website, and this lays out the general framework for how you can expect your city government to work on the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Again, this kind of happens underground and in the background, but it's ultra-critical work. It undergirds our ability to protect Lake Champlain, which I think we all know is kind of the cornerstone of recreation, public health, and our economy. Next slide. A couple fun things we can share with you. We're part of a few robust networks. The Blue BTV network, you can sign up for a free stormwater assessment for your household. Will help you determine what projects you may be able to undertake, what best practices you can apply to your house. And here in Ward 2, this is one of the areas of the city that's still more heavily on the combined system. So everything we can do in Ward 2, and we're working in the background on projects that we can bring forward as a city, but definitely more for residents to do if you have the time and inclination to check that out, as well as Adopt a Drain. It's a really fun partner network. You can adopt a nearby catch basin, help us clear that, or at least be the eyes on the street and let us know if they need to be cleaned. We try to be active before storms, get the leaves, get the debris out of the way so our infrastructure performs at its best, but we'd welcome your calls if you're noticing anything that needs repair, cleaning, or if you want to be a partner in that process as well. Next slide. I'll leave you with this, unless there's, or hopefully there's time for questions, but 3 really important ways for you to reach out to us or hear about our projects or updates if you so choose. We encourage you to go on See Click Fix, which you can click through from the city website or sign up for an app. That is the best way to let us know about routine maintenance requests, potholes, catch basins. If it's urgent, call us. If it's after hours, we have an after hours line, but you can also call emergency services. But for the routine stuff, definitely give that a try. Construction impacts, if you're on Front Porch Forum, hopefully you've been seeing our updates. There's a new urgent alert feature, so for major impacts, we'll try to make use of the Front Porch Forum urgent alert, as well as signage around the city when paving or sidewalk work is about to come through a street or a neighborhood. And then VT alert, if you're so inclined, you'll get text messages and emails from the city. I do understand that the state and other entities send a lot of messages. We try to limit how many we send. We don't want to create alert fatigue, but we think when we do use those, they're meaningful, so feel free to sign up if you're so inclined. Complaints, concerns, compliments. Feel free to stop by, call us, or email us. All the information's there or easily accessible on our website. So thank you so much for having us, and if there's time or questions, happy to help.
Unfortunately, we do not have time for questions, but we thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. We're always happy to come back.
And if you do have any questions, feel free to follow up with Robert or the DPW online. Oh. Okay, so now our last item, Megan Humphrey, our very own Megan Humphrey, will come and give us a history lesson on part of the Old North End.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Humphrey. Hi.
We can also turn it sideways if you need to have it just turned sideways so you can see the screen.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Hi, so I'm Megan Humphrey. I've lived in the Old North End for 45 years, and last month we did a little bit of the Old North End history, and I'm going to continue. So next slide, please. I guess I should get mine up. So lots of people have helped with pulling together some of the history. And so I just wanted to thank some of those folks. And on the back table, I hope some of you had a chance to look at the old maps. Sadly, St. Louis Street was not on it for many years, but it finally is. Up until 1877 even, it did not exist on the maps, but those are just fun to look at if you get a chance. Next one, yep. So this is, does everyone know where this is? The tunnel. Supposedly it's the only one in Chittenden County, and it was built through the sand under North Ave. So if you're driving out on the Belt Line toward the new North End and you turn to the left, the railroad tracks go right under there, and there's a tunnel that's right there. And it is very narrow, and it's horseshoe shaped, which is unusual. And Terry and I did something probably very illegal, but we walked through it one day. We knew when the trains were coming and going. And it's very scary because it's curved, so you walk into the tunnel and you can't see the other end. And Terry said, "We are not stopping. You're not going to stop and take photos. We're just going to keep walking." So in 1853, the tracks still went through downtown. So let me see here. So they went near Hyde Street and Union Streets and then headed south toward Maple Street. There was a huge ravine in the city, and that's where the tracks went. And so in, let's see what that was. In 1861, this is called a masonry block curved horseshoe-shaped railroad tunnel. And that shifted the tracks through the Intervale and out to the waterfront. So it just went completely around the city that way. And the folks who built it, it was engineer Daniel Lindsley and workers used Ilamont limestone. Bricks were made in Mallett's Bay, and other limestone came from Weathersfield. For almost 50 years, I think this is amazing, 11 passenger trains traveled in each direction daily through the tunnel. And on June 16, 1938, the final passenger train went to Essex Junction. And now, as you heard about the McNeil plant, the trains now, I believe, only come from Swanton. Is that right, Charlie? Yes. So they don't go from McNeil to the waterfront anymore? Not that I know. Okay. So that was a lot of trains that were passing through there and shuffling people all around. Next slide, please. So here's one of the maps that's in the back. By 1869, there were some houses north of North Street, and so I have a lot of name changes. Elmwood Avenue, does anyone know what that was in its past? You do? It was, that's right. Locust. And it was also called Warren. And then Elmwood because of elms, but they're not doing so well either. How about Union? Anyone know what that one was? That was called Maiden Street. And even on some of the old maps, that's there. Renamed after the Civil War? Is that where the word Union? It might have been. I don't know. It's a good, remind me, I'll do some looking up that history. Does anyone know what Battery Street was called originally? It's kind of simple. Water. That was like, not that. And I love the fact that there was a North Street and a North Avenue. Not very creative. Yes?
When was it renamed Battery Street?
I don't know. But the Battery was housed there, Battery Park. So it must have been around that time. I don't know. Prospect. That was Gough Street. Manhattan. North Bend. Good job. All right. North Bend. Good. And how about Bright Street? That was called Cow Alley because a lot of people had cows and other animals in their backyard. And then Riverside.
So if anyone answers you, you have to repeat it.
Okay. Got it. Riverside, Lower Road. Again, not that creative. And as lots of you know, in the Old North End, it was sort of by mistake, there were all of these triangles. So then the city just kept building triangles. Nobody decided that that's how they were going to plan it. So there are a lot of, you'll come to corners and the buildings are triangular as well. Like North Street has one, North and Intervale. So it's very confusing for people, even people who have lived around here forever. And then you add the one-way streets to it, and it's a mess. So it's especially hard to get around. Next slide, please. So now I just wanted to go through some of the buildings, and this one may look familiar to you. And does anyone know what this might have been in the past? Come on, Peter. You should know this. This was originally called, yep, exactly, Sager's Department Store, and that was owned by the O.N.E family. And there are many of us that still call it O.N.E Hill. That's Depot Street going down, but a lot of us still call it O.N.E Hill. So it was then O.N.E's grocery store, and then after they closed, very good, kept Burlington College, and now it's a COTS shelter.
Hey, Megan.
Yep.
I've got a story about apparently, they say, and I believe it, they say that the shopping cart was invented at O.N.E's store. So Mr. O.N.E saw women come in to do their shopping, and they'd maybe be carrying a basket, and they'd be walking around holding all the stuff in their arms. So he took simple chairs, like a kitchen chair, and put casters on the bottom, 4 casters, and then the women pushed the chairs around and piled their groceries on the seat. And when I was a little girl in Middlebury, we had reading books, and there was a story about the invention of shopping carts in the reading book. So I believe that was back before all textbooks came from Texas. I believe that textbook was developed in Vermont. So that's my Kolodny story.
Thank you. And I'll do some more research on the grocery cart. That's very cool. Next one, please. So this is 78 North Street. The building was built in 1922, and this is my favorite one. These are all the businesses that were in it. It was shoe repair, a grocery store, a liquor store, a beer garden, a barber shop, and an ice cream shop. So this is when it was Nepali Dumpling House, and it's right on the corner of North and Park Street. Next one, please. So this is 106 to 108 North Street, and this had, it housed the New York Fashion, that was the name of the company, and then the A&P Tea Company. So a lot of us remember A&P grocery stores from the old days, and this is not the original building. That burned in the 70s. Next one, please. So this is 144 to 146 North, and lots of people frequent this. It's JR's Corner Store, and that was an IGA grocery store. North Street was the big shopping district. It moved from the downtown area, so North Street was just filled with lots of corner markets. Next one, please. So Grace and Maggie, this is where you live. This was formerly the Maisels department store. That was a Jewish family. And it was built in 1904. And Morris Maisel was a Russian immigrant and was originally a street merchant, which a lot in the Jewish neighborhood, which this was part of, a lot of folks had street carts and they would go around. And even in our house, one of the men, one of the last of the kids, when he was little, he would go around on a Jewish cart, and he was French Canadian, but he would work for this guy, and they would deliver groceries in the neighborhood. Next one, please. So that's the front of the building. And is that just an apartment now? It's all apartments, because that's clearly a storefront. That's now the laundry room of your apartment building. And then the next one, please. So that's up higher on the top of the building, and that's the cornerstone, the 1904, when it was built. Next one, please. Here's 86 Pitkin, and I don't think this looks so much like a store as many of the other ones do, but this was Harold Mincer Grocers. And next, this is kind of fun. This is looking toward the lake, and it's the corner of North Champlain and North. And North Champlain is to the left, and that's the 139 to 143. And this was taken in August of 1930, and you can see tracks in the middle of the road. And then if you go to the next one, please. So this is a photo of Nunion's. And so that's what that building was. And this was also interesting history. It was a barber shop, and then a wholesale flower store, flour as in grain, a private school in 1906, and then a First National grocery store. So that had quite a history. Next one, please. At some point, I'm going to talk about Louis McAllister. He was a photographer who also lived in Burlington but did a lot of the public works photography in the city. So this was a photo by him. But this is the corner of North Winooski and Pearl. And so on the right would be where Radio Bean is now. And again, you can see the tracks in the middle of the road. And on the left, on the right was Rugoff Electric Company. And the Church of the Nazarene was across the street, which is now a shelter, I believe. And that had, obviously, that was a new building as well. Next one, please. This is the perfect example of one of the triangular buildings, and that's on the corner of North Winooski and North. And that was Gelino's pastry shop. And this is a photo when it was the African market. Next one, please. This is, I think, fairly newly painted, because that was a big white building, and it's a huge building. Lots of nonprofits and other organizations are in that building. And this was Facet's Bakery. So they had that was just a huge space for them. Next one, please. Besides my house, this is my favorite house designer in Burlington, and it's called a John Roberts home, and they were all over the city. His name was John Roberts. He was born in Essex, and he moved to Burlington with his wife Amelia, and he was an architect and built more than 50 homes in Burlington in the 1870s through the 90s, and it's called the Queen Anne style, and in some cases they sold for $900. So that was a pretty good deal. And they're all L-shaped porches. They have bay windows in the front of them. And see on the top, the peak of it, they had a lot of really interesting designs of circles and diamonds on them. And a lot of the homes are now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Next one, please. So here are a couple more. This is on Hyde Street, the one on the left. So that was another grocery store. 79 Hyde, and then King Street had a number of them, so they're all lined up, and there are just a couple of them that still survived. Many homes burned, so there are just a couple left on King Street. And after his wife died in 1896, he went to Philadelphia and remarried and was a carpenter there. So it's too bad that he left Burlington, because I think the homes were really beautiful. Okay, I know I'm getting to the end here, so next one, please. So I just wanted to go back to this map from 1869, and St. Louis, this is really hard to see, but St. Louis Street is not on it, and if you just want to take a couple minutes and look at the maps at the back, because it's very interesting how much has changed. And St. Louis Street was eventually our house was built in 1890, so sometime between 1877 and 1890, they put in the street, and then they put in the park, and it was originally called Shaw's Lot because it was the Shaw family owned all of that property around there, and so it was called Shaw's Lot, and then it was renamed Roosevelt Park. And in the old days, back then, there was a skating rink and a ballpark just like we have now. And one of the women that's working on the Burlington History and Culture Museum said that some of the largest circuses in the area were set up in the park, in the Shaw's Lot. And she said that immigrants would just come by the thousands to see the circuses because you didn't need to speak English. You would still understand what was happening. And so the north end of St. Louis Street was part of the French-Canadian neighborhood as well. And some of you may know Peg Dumas. She has worked and lived in Burlington for all of her life, and she's in her 80s now, and all of those homes around her on the north part of St. Louis Street were all relatives of hers as part of the French-Canadian area. And that was also the very north end was the, they were also talking about this earlier, that was the landfill for the city for a long time. So what's the bike path now that goes down into the Intervale off to the left there is piping out the gases of the landfill that was there for many years. So I'm going to stop there because it's 8 o'clock, and we'll do some more sometime. So, and if anyone has questions or comments, that would be great. Go ahead.
Yes, you showed a rail line going through Winooski Street. Was that connected to the rail that went through the tunnel?
I think it was before that, because that would have been the earlier railroad, and then they moved it just beyond the city. That's my understanding, that it went by the McNeil plant and then down to the waterfront, but just sort of went on the outskirts of the city. Because there was a ravine, and that's what it was going through. And the library sits on that fault, the fire department that's downtown.
There was
Go ahead.
There's also a streetcar. That might have been it too.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It probably was a streetcar. Yeah, there were trolleys everywhere.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
I love what this is. This is great. You know, I came to Burlington in 1971, and Lunig's was an A&W root beer. The Nickelodeon Theater was a Shell gas station. The Honey Road was a 24-hour quarter-deck dive, and there would be a police officer stationed there at 2 a.m. in the morning. The vacant lot across from the old Burlington Savings Bank, where Ben & Jerry's started, okay, before Ben & Jerry's, it was a gas station, and between the gas station and Ben & Jerry's, it was called the Checkered Flag, and that too was a 24-hour dive where you get a burger and fries. So I think it'd be great to take up how downtown Burlington has changed dramatically, especially the devastation with urban renewal that removed so many families where Burlington Square and City Place was. That was a tragedy many years ago.
Yeah, that's true. And there is a group of people in Burlington, Miles is on the advisory committee for it as well, of trying to find space for a Burlington History and Culture Center so that we could collect all these stories and capture them and have a place for them. Because, Miles, it's my understanding that, are we the only city that doesn't have a history museum, like a larger city in Vermont, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And especially actually like throughout New England, it's just most towns and most, it's very rare for municipalities in New England, for towns and villages to not have historical societies. You can go to very rural Vermont and they'll still have space dedicated to preserving town history and all of that. And Burlington does not have anything equivalent to that. Yeah.
And we're losing those stories. I mean, that's what's heartbreaking about it, so, yeah.
I just want to thank you for the fun stories, because they're fun stuff to share with my grandchildren, like telling them, on this house down the street from us, they found bones there.
Yes, yes. It's always a crowd pleaser for kids, right?
So this comment isn't nearly as interesting as all of your history going back to 1971, but that Nunion's building was, in the late 80s, it was the first cyber cafe in Burlington, run by the owner of the building, Ken Axelson. I think within the last year or two, yeah. Yep. Great man.
May I make a suggestion? That Megan go to CCTV sometime and do an in-studio show for an hour and bring this gentleman
Thank you,
along.
yes.
bring this guy along with you right here.
Yes, and I have done a couple of shows, but one of them, Charlie, was with David Hirschberg. And that, I'll be talking about him at some point too, because that was a remarkable background. So, but Peter, another victim. Thank you all so much. This was really fun. Thank you.
Megan. Was everyone? Oh, yeah, we have a quick announcement from Jess.
As everyone's leaving, there are some leftovers on the back table, and everyone has to leave with a bunch of fresh parsley, courtesy of Intervale Community Farm.
Was everyone able to enter their name who wanted to into the drawing? Okay, we're gonna do that now. Nate Del Pretty? Nice. All right, so that does it for us. On behalf of the NPA, Travis, Barbara, and also the two NPA members I forgot to mention earlier, Nora and Casey, who aren't here. Thank you all.